Hello, welcome all. Today we are going to learn about the URL creation, formats of the URL, and what are the URL rules. So when we open our application, our URL look like this. That is the localhost port name and the index.php. When we navigate the other pages, for example, now we move to the about page, the second portion of the URL it changes. That is, it shows the root for the about pages. Similarly, for the contact and login page, we can also see. So what happens here exactly? The URL changes according to the root of the pages. So how it happens when a e-application processes a requested URL, the first it passes URL into the root, that is for the root parameter. And then this root is used to instantiate the corresponding controller. For our application, the controller is your site controller. And then the action, that is a login action or a contact action or about action. So this whole process is called the routing, and the reverse process of this is called the URL creation. Basically, the URL manager application component supports two URL format. First is default format and second is a pretty URL format. The default format uses the query parameter R, that is this R, to represent the root of the page. That is, it's first go to the controller and the followed by the action. So what contains the query parameter? This parameters contains the controller ID and the action ID. But every time it is not looking good, so we move to the second URL format, that is pretty URL. The pretty URL format uses the extra path with the entry script name, that is, instead of using all the roots parameter, that is the controller ID or the controller name, action ID, action name, it will simply pass the action name. For example, your URL will be index.php, index.php, or like localhost 8080 slash. In pretty URL, you can directly pass the name of the action or your URL like this localhost 8080. It will directly move to the contact page, or it will directly display the index page dot php, or it will move from here to the login page. So how to enable this pretty URL format? To use this format, you need to set the URL rules. So how to enable this pretty URL and how to make URL look like this? Let's see now. So we will move to the our code section. In code section, there is a folder called config. In config, there is a page called web.php. In web.php page, we have a section called URL manager. To make a pretty URL, you can do changes here. So by default, it is a commented section. So because it is a commented section, we get the root root part of the URL. That is a default URL in the URL section. See, you can see that R is equal to site name of the controller and the name of the action ID. If we uncomment this line, if we just comment from here and go to the browser to check the result, you will get the part is missing from this URL section. That is, it will show the pretty URL, the nice URL from this section. How it works to understand what does it URL manager does exactly here. In URL manager, there are two parameters defined here: enable pretty URL true and the show script name false. Enable pretty URL true, it tells the URL manager to remove the root part from here. So what it exactly means, if we make it as a false here, go to the browser Let's refresh it and go to the browser. We will get the default our default URL from here. That is, it will contain the root part, that is a question mark r is equal to name of the controller and the name of the action ID for the all the pages, for the same as a contact page, about page. Okay? So for the about page, and if we make it as a true, it will tell the URL to remove this root part from the URL. So when we go to the browser, refresh the page, and we will go to the about page again. See, the root part, that is R is equal to control ID name and the action ID name is missing from here, and you will get the nice URL look like this. That is the difference between the true and the false parameter of the pretty URL, enable pretty URL. The second parameter is show script name false. That means it will remove, or it will not show the index.php in the URL section. And you will get this. You cannot see here the index.php, that is script name, and the controller name, which is shown here in the default URL. So in default URL, you will get the index.php, then the root part of the URL. But you make it as a false. So here you will not get the index.php. Let's see the difference if we make it as a true. We will go to the browser. In pretty URL also, without root part, it will also show the script name. We don't want this script name here, so we will make it as a false. And go to the browser and we refresh the pages, we will get the URL. So once again, we will see the difference. Enable pretty URL, remove the root part from the URL, and this show scripts and false will remove the index.php section from the URL, and you will get the nice pretty URL. The third parameter in URL manager is rules. So before going to how to make rule and why to make rules, let's see now. We will go to the browser. Suppose here I write a keyword called login and it should direct me to the login page. Or suppose about, it should redirect me to the about page. I want URL, my URL look like this. How to make this URL rules? So that we will go to the code section. In this, there is a parameter called rule. If I write here login, then it should redirect me to the site controller's login page. We will go to the browser to check the effect. I refresh the page. I type in login. See, it is redirecting me to directly to the login page. Finally, we can do, and my URL is pretty much looking good. It's showing only the localhost and the page name. Similarly, we can do it for the, it's also, suppose I write here about, so it should redirect me to the about page, about page. Okay, we will see that is showing the effect. I thought here in about, yes, we are going to the page. If I write here some other keyword, suppose I type here phone, it should redirect me to the index page. It is a home page. I will write here index and we will go to the browser. Suppose here I am on contact page. I will write here home. Press enter. We are on a home page. So our look like the URL is pretty much better from the last one. This is how you can create URL rules. Suppose, see, in this case, we know the names of the action. This is the name of the controller and this is the name of the action. If I don't know the name of what are the methods included in the controller, so how do I redirect page to the specific controller? So for that, what will do? I will write here action, action, and it should redirect to me controller name and the action mentioned over there. Suppose for this effect we will remove this login and about. Okay, this is the action name of the action method and any action if we have called here, suppose login action, about action, contact action, or any other action, it should redirect me to that action page on this site controller. It will do the effect. Go to the browser. I type here. We don't know here. We have not mentioned any rule for the any other action. So what we'll do? I will type here login. So it will go to the login action page. If I will type here contact, it will direct me to the contact page. Similarly for the about, it will redirect me to the about page. So this is how you can, in one line, you can define the rule for all the actions on the pages. This is how you can create the URL rules. In this case, you should know of the controller. Then you can mention the action tag. This action should redirect to the controller's page. Next thing in URL creation and management is to change the default root of the application. That means what? Whenever we open an application, we see this home page of our application. But I don't want to see this home page. So I will change the default root of a page, or else if you create any another application in that page you want to set another home page for the application. So what we'll do and how to change it, the home default root of a page, we will see it now. To the code section, in code section, in same way .php, go about config section. In config is a parameter called default root. Here it is mentioned that slash index. That means this is the default root of our application. Whenever you open an application, it will redirect you to the index page. I change it is for any other page. I will go to suppose login page. What this line means? This line means whenever I open an application, it will redirect me to the login page, not to the home page. Every time it will show me the login page. Let's see the demo of this. I will close this application, open new application, localhost, it's 80, enter. You can see the login page. This is how you can change the default root of a application. Suppose here I mention suppose contact page. So whenever I open application, I will open the tab. Continuous image. You can see the page has changed from home page to login page to the contact page. So this is how you can create the URL, you can make rules for the URL, and you can change the default root of your application.